think we are live now. Welcome all of you in this podcast, Healing Beyond Borders, where we have slogan that we are connecting nurses beyond borders through stories and opportunities. And in today's session, we have Dr. Irina with us. She has a very inspiring journey. She is author of many books, and I would like to start this session with a warm welcome to her and ask her to introduce herself and tell us about his life and his nursing journey.
Perfect. Hi, welcome everybody. So I came from Ukraine when I was 17 years old to America. We immigrated with my family. There were seven of us, my grandparents, my disabled uncle, my brother. And I came from 10 years of music school and I thought I was going to be next Barbara Streisand. So I was very surprised to learn that in America, you can't really make money by singing, or so I was told. And I was told to go into medicine because that's where, you can have insurance and money. And so I was so scared, I think, of like not making the American dream that I chose nursing because my English was at I would say, zero point 0.5, not a zero, but zero point 0.5 out of 100, because French was my second language. And I kind of thought that I would never be able to become a doctor. You need good English. So anyway, I chose nursing. And ultimately, I became a nurse practitioner. And then I earned my doctorate degree in nursing practice from Johns Hopkins. In all of that, I got married, had children. I actually opened four healthcare businesses through my career, and I sold them all successfully. And then I worked as vice president of this and CEO of that. So I have a tremendous experience in, I would say, healthcare in America, from being a nurse to nurse practitioner to doctor of nursing practice, but also because I became a caregiver for my family. And for anybody in America that's, that English is your second language and you're in healthcare, you become kind of a priority caregiver no matter what, because and it doesn't matter if you're a nurse or a doctor or a dental hygienist or a pharmacy assistant. If you're in healthcare, everybody says, okay, you need to take me to an appointment. You need to translate, because everybody assumes that you understand more, which is rightfully so. So became a caregiver really young for everybody. And what I realized that when about 10 years ago, so I'm 52 now, but about 10 years ago, when I was taking care of my grandmother who was 90 and my father who had dementia, and my kids were in high school and middle school, and I was working, somebody told me that, oh, you are a perfect sandwich generation. And I was like, well, come again? Because English second language, I don't know what sandwich generation is. And then I was told the sandwich generation is when you are taking care of two sides of your family, your older side and your younger side, and you are literally like in a sandwich, you're the peanut butter and jelly. And the seed was planted, and I thought about it a lot. And 10 years later, after everybody passed away, and I always say, thank God my mom is young and healthy and she's fine, and my kids are older. I wanted to write a book about what would I have if when I was that busy, that stressed out. So I wrote this book that's called the Sandwich Generation Handbook, and it has 18 very short chapters. There are no more than 3 to 4 pages, because I want people to say, like, if you're dealing with time management or financial issues or spiritual issues, you can just open one chapter and read it. And then one of the chapters was on AI, because I am a life long learner. And so when AI kind of started, I like I love learning and getting actual papers, because maybe I come from Soviet Union, like I need to have a paper to say that I've studied that and I know it. So I learned about American Board of Artificial Intelligence and Medicine, and I trained there and I got certified and took board certification. And so I felt very comfortable writing a little chapter on AI, telling just people that are caregivers, how to use AI for caregiving. But guys, you'll be surprised or not surprised that every podcast, everything that anybody always asks me to do about my Sanguine Generation book, once they learn that I have an AI chapter, they want to talk about AI. So I said, okay, well, then maybe there's another book that needs to be written. And I wrote the second book that's called AI Health Companion. And it truly was, I'm sorry, shameless plug, but it was really designed for anybody. And I don't want to say patient or caregiver because it's a person who is not in healthcare and who doesn't know AI. And I'm just explaining in very simple terms how to use any AI platforms. You can call it whatever you want, ChatGPT, Claude, it doesn't matter. They all are built very, very similar. It's almost like saying, computers, like, do you have a Dell or Apple? Even though Apple and Dell are different, but computer is a computer. It has a very basic things. So I'm teaching people how to use AI for their healthcare journey, how to analyze, how to, um, um, make sense, how to really use it as your helper. But also my colleague Susan Dean, who was on your podcast before, and I sat together and wrote about 6 months ago book on AI competencies for nurses, because at that time we felt that everybody talked about AI and AI taking nursing job. Like it's just, I'm honestly tired of hearing about it. But what we realized is that at that time there was no competencies. Like nurses really didn't know how to use it, what to do. So we also wrote that book. So with that, I think my introduction was half of the podcast. I'll I'll come up for air and have you ask me any other questions.
Yes, you have really an inspiring and very motivational life story, and your energy, high energy, and your fluency. This is really inspires me, and this
Thank you.
really, yes, this is really motivating. Uh, as you said that you wanna become a doctor, but you started with music and ESL, and you now you are like two doctors. You are a nurse practitioner, which is like doctor, and
Yeah.
also have a PhD degree.
Yeah.
Now I just want to know about your work life balance. uh,
Uh,
you have done a lot on the work side. You are a clinician, entrepreneur, educator, author, and caregiver. And in this scenario, I would like to ask that what were the biggest challenges you faced, and what lesson helped you to keep moving forward?
that's a wonderful question. And I think that everybody has their own answer. So take that with a grain of salt, because everybody, they say everybody's happy is the same, but everybody misery is different. So every journey is different. And because of your circumstances that only you know, it's what's going to make a very big difference with what I'm going to say. But I'll only talk about myself and what I did it, and probably the lessons that I learned from my journey. So I can tell you that when I was, brand new nurse and kind of growing up, and I was 25 in, middle of 1996, we didn't have the work-life balance formula. We didn't know about burnout. We worked, and there were stressful situation, and there were situations where, I would come from working from ICU, and like I would literally walk to my car gasping for air because something just so bad happened at my job. um, but it was like we all understood, I think, or I understood that's just part of the job. And I think it helped me to just learn how to deal with it on my own, learning how to ask, for help. Right now, I'm worried that everybody are like, I teach a nursing school as an adjunct professor, and you hear it from, first year nursing student, burnout, burnout, burnout. We are getting them ready for burnout. So I feel like we are almost infecting our young nurses with that burnout disease, where they feel like that's just a that's always part of the job, and b that like they're trying to build their immune system around it. But I think we should look at it differently. And so my formula is this: when you're young and you're healthy and you're ambitious, work your ass off. Like this is the time that, I mean, I literally know the story of a nurse that finished nursing school and quit 2 weeks after her first job, and her parents were okay with it because she said it's too stressful and she can see herself working with the nurse. And mind you, she had all the clinical experience, right? So but I think that we babied, we babied nursing students, and like so much that I think when they actually come start working, they're all of a sudden feel like, oh my gosh. And I wasn't babied when I was in nursing school, and we had nursing students that failed their clinicals, and we were reprimanded for wearing pants that, like, you could see a little bit of your underwear, like, a little see-through, like it was all done. And I actually appreciated that because it taught me how to be better, how to be stronger. And now we are, so I think that, work as much as you can, work as hard as you can, do not focus on one thing. If you can, if you're working in acute care, for example, like get a weekend pickup job somewhere in a nursing home. It's going to be very different. It's going to be very maybe difficult for you physically, but you learn so much, because I promise you that once you get to, you have children and you're a little older, then you won't be able to kind of hustle and run and do everything. So that's the time. Like, so what I'm saying is when you're young and you're out of school, you hustle and you work as much as you can and you learn as much as you can, because your experience is that value that then you can use later. So for example, I just read about the nurse, and this happens everywhere. She was working 2 to 3 jobs, barely making her bills paid because she was a single mother. And then she said, you know what? I'm going to open an IV hydration clinic. It took her guts. She used her credit card. She got, she bought a van and she opened the IV hydration clinic in Florida, and she tripled her income because she was, she took what she knew as a nurse and then turned it into a business. So, but if you don't have a lot of experience when you're young and you're not hustling, you don't have that value to then turn into a business. And a lot of nurses come to me and they were like, oh, I want to leave bedside, I want to do something, like what kind of business can I do? Well, if you only, let's say, worked in labor and delivery all of your life, that's the only business avenue you can have. And yes, I can probably help you craft, like, okay, you can maybe become a doula, you can maybe do like a private pay, nurse kind of OB help. But is it enough for business? I'm not sure. Like, I don't know, right? But if you did OB and you did emergency room and you did a little bit of home health, now we're saying, wow, you now have a lot more value to bring. So that's, I think, my maybe, like, prescriptive formula for success. And lastly, I want to say, stop focusing on life work balance, because if your work doesn't bring your pleasure, like if you're not fulfilled with what you do, you will never find work life balance, because you would want to wait until the end of your shift to then say, oh, now I can breathe. Now I can do what I love. So find what you love and then try to make that as your work.
Yes, that's perfect. Now coming to the actually we have the agenda this for this session is AI in nursing,
Yeah.
and now I would like to ask the core question about AI, that many nurses are excited about the AI while others are concerned about it. In your view, how will AI transform the nursing over the next 5 to 10 years, and what mindset should nurses adopt today?
A wonderful question. I'm worried that my answer might be obsolete in 2 months because things change so quickly with AI. So, again, as I say, take that with a grain of salt. We are only talking about today. I went to a conference with nurse informatics, and they were like, they blew my mind. The chief nurse informatic office through at UPenn, and chief of informatic office at somewhere like really smart nurse informatics. And a lot of them were saying that they think 5 to 10 years from now, for sure, we won't have electronic medical record as we know it. They think that it's going to be pretty much done on the background by AI listening and taking notes and making things happen. So what I would tell every nurse is prepare for your future to be very different. It's almost like, imagine when you were doing anything, farming, nursing, anything in 1900s before the cars were invented. And then how did the life change when cars were invented and where people could actually go from place to place, fast. And so AI, I think it's more than cars. It's even more than when computers were invented. So things will change. I want to tell everybody that change is a beautiful thing. It could be painful, but it's like that, the cocoon becomes a butterfly, right? We go through this pain. Be ready for changes. Just know the changes are coming. Be open minded. Learn as much as you can. With AI, my formula for success is always and will always be trust by verify. You cannot trust it completely, and you cannot verify everything because you just don't have enough time in your day. So I have a lot of different tricks, I kind of up my sleeve, use the um, like red, yellow, green, like a light at the intersection in terms of like when do you trust it, when do you verify, and when do you push back. We can talk about that. But I think that nursing is going to be very different. I think that we'll actually be able to spend a lot more time with people, and that's where I think a lot of nurses went into the job, and we'll be able to like hold their hands and be there for them and not click 100 different buttons every time you have to give somebody medication or check something. So I am very optimistic about where AI is in nurses, and I think that nurses need to just keep learning, keep being open-minded, and always like try to be at the decision making in your place of work where it has to do with AI. Right now, every hospital is evaluating probably 5, 10 different AI systems. Talk to your manager, talk to your director of nurses and nursing, and say, in my own time, you don't have to pay me, but I would like to be involved in any working group, anything that has to do with AI evaluation. I'm learning about it. I want to be of value. And I can tell you that maybe within a year you'll become, chief AI compliance officer. But don't be afraid.
Yes. And another question is also about AI and your book, AI Competency for Every Nurse. Your book, AI Competency Domains for Nurses, emphasizes preparing nurses to lead, not just adopt. What are the essential AI competencies every nurse should start developing today?
So I think number one, it's always AI literacy, meaning like if you don't learn the words, you can't know the language, right? So literacy means literally like what does the word means and what is the definition of it. And the nurse doesn't understand what, let's say, prompt means or output or transformer, then you won't be able to understand the language and the sentence where people will be speaking to you about. So number one is very important. Just learn the vocabulary, learn what things mean, so then you can go forward. So that's the basic, and that's where I want every nurse to start with. And don't assume that you know, because when I went into the ABIM class with a lot of very smart doctors and nurses, and I thought I was so prepared because I've been kind of studying AI for a year before that. I learned, I would say 95% of new information because you can go as deep as you want, but at least start with the basic. So that's my number one goal for every nurse.
Great. Another question, as you have mentioned earlier about your book, The Sandwich Generation. And your book, Sandwich Generation Handbook, reflects your personal caregiving journey. Which advice would you give to nurses and caregivers who feel overwhelmed or struck while caring both for their families and their patients?
Yeah, I would say number one is like know that you're not alone, even though it feels very lonely. But the last study that I read, I think they said that 40%, which is almost half of every adult in America, are considered caregivers because they're helping, and a lot of them are sandwich caregivers. But don't assume that you have to carry that load alone because there are so many resources that are available. And I think sometimes we get into that almost victim mentality where I'm so busy, I can't do this, I can't do that. but sometimes it takes a minute. And what I say, for example, if your father has dementia, just just by going to like Alzheimer's Association.org, there are so many free things. You can get free money, you can get caregiving help, you can get like there's so much. And also like in America, we have something that people don't know, but it's called like if you just Google findhelp.org, it's a free website where you can put your zip code and you'll say, I need help with transportation or with food. And everything that's available in your zip code comes up, from all the free stuff to like stuff that you can pay for. And sometimes there are grants from the county that you live in or the city to help for caregiving. For example, one of the nurses told me that she went online and she found $160 a month grant for a year to help her, a patient, to help somebody come and help to bathe her. Like that stuff literally is right there. But as caregivers, a lot sometimes as nurses, we feel like we have to just pull our weight and we have to do it all ourselves. So my recommendation is take 5 minutes of your time, go online, research the associations, research findhelp.org, and just ask for help.
Great. Another question is about the opportunities for the nurses. Many nurses dream moving into leadership, entrepreneurship, consulting, or healthcare technology. What opportunities do you see for nurses beyond traditional clinical roles, and especially in the age of AI?
So, my biggest fear, Jabbar, is that by the time I'll need a nurse in a hospital, there'll be no nurses left. Because it seems like everybody wants to leave a clinical bedside, which is very concerning to me personally because I'm getting older. But I still hope that there's a lot of people going into nursing school, and hopefully there'll be enough for you and I, even though we live in different countries. But my suggestion, there's a lot. So number one, if you want to stay within your organization but you want to kind of leave bedside, is talk to your nurse manager and ask for anything that you can do to learn to become a leader. Maybe you want to volunteer to become a charge nurse. Maybe you want to sit on the committee. When I was young, and I'll tell you honestly, and I was asked to sit on a committee, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, but this is some kind of BS. Like, I want to be with patients. I want to learn, new procedures. Like, what is the committee? That's bullshit. And I didn't volunteer. I did not sit on the committees. And now I'm looking back, I was like, oh, that was perfect opportunity for me to learn leadership, to learn what is being done like, kind of on the other side of caring for patients. So anytime you're being asked, you should go. But if you're not being asked, volunteer. Ask, where you can help. And don't ask for extra shifts to work because you'll be getting those. But those are just you're working, you're just working like a working bee. I would say also, if your manager is not aware or doesn't like to help you and it happens, go to HR and ask them not to complain, but say, I want to become a leader. I want to learn how to manage people. What do we have? And you'll be surprised how many organizations in their HR, they have leadership academies, they have things that you can take advantage of and become better. I would go as far as, if you don't think your nurse manager is helping you, it's fine. I would schedule an appointment with chief nursing officer and come and say, I'm looking for a mentor. Number one, you can't complain. You don't come there to tell your manager is not good. You're saying, I'm looking for a mentor. I would like to learn how to be a better leader. What can you help me with? And your mind is going to be blown. You just need to learn how to ask questions. My other approach is, if you actually want to leave your organization and you want to do something, think about what you're really good at and what it is that you love to do. For example, I know nurses that worked with kind of post-op patients, and they really like that post-operative, wound care changes and helping people with bathing. So they not consulted, they went to plastic surgeons in their area, and they said, look, when you have your patients who have this full body makeover, that cost them whatever, $25,000, $30,000, and they can't walk to the bathroom for the first week because it hurts everywhere. And they paid all that money. Like, I'm available and I'm a nurse and I have a post-op experience. These girls were charging enormous amount of money per hour, and these patients were paying them and they loved what they were doing. So it's there's so many opportunities. I know a nurse that did she worked in postpartum, so after, like the OB place, obstetrics, but she really loved the postpartum place where she was helping patients with breastfeeding, even though we have, like, breastfeeding people that come. OB is not my thing, but she liked it so much, and she started telling all of the patients, like, if you when you're out of the hospital and you need help, I would love to help you. I charge whatever an hour. And then she became, really known for that, and she left her bedside. So my thing is, find what you really love to do in nursing, use your expertise, and start building your business. And it starts small. You need one person to start using you, and then word of mouth will pick up. And of course, now with I made my website. I used to pay money. I had a different business, really nice website. And then I said, you know what? I want to make a website about my books. I went to Claude and I did pay $20 a month because I needed to use it for website, which, look, was a lot more than free. And I have a website. Is it the best? Absolutely not. Is it amazing? No. But does it do what I need to do? Does it have my books? Does it have my contact information? How can people find me? By the way, shameless plug, sandwich-generation.org. But you can just Google Irina Koyfman. And I have a website. So I'm just saying, if you want it, you just, like, you have to learn the way. You can't just want it and sit on your couch and think about it.
Great. I will put the link of that website in the comment.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, and this is the last question. I think that we are conducting this session on the from the platform of Healing Beyond Borders, and there is another organization we are working with, Nurses Beyond Borders, which is helping nurses beyond borders in their USRN journey, in the nurses from Pakistan and India and Asia. Uh, yes, and as you told earlier that you are from Ukraine, and you may have the same issues which are facing these nurses from Pakistan or India, the preparation of NCLEX, the language proficiency, and things like that. What message would you like to share with the nurses who want to build a global career like you?
Um, I think, I mean, I honestly don't know. So I'm not gonna lie and, pull the question out of my brain. But I think that, like, everybody is different. I think that, if you want something, you need to learn how to go for it. Don't be afraid to ask questions. For example, LinkedIn has been a great source of, like, professionals finding each other. And every time I get probably 10 or 15 messages from, like, salespeople trying to sell me something. But once in a while, I get a message from a nurse from another country or nursing student here, and they'll say, Dr. Irina, I'm looking for a mentor. I have a question. I never not answer that, because I always remember that when I was that young and I needed help, there were so many people that helped me. So ask for help, email as many people as you can, finding, hopefully people in your area of, expertise or what you want to do. Ask for help. You don't know. I had a nurse once that reached out to me, and she was from Israel, and she said she had a license in America, and she didn't know what she was looking for, but she was like, I just want to do something. And I said, I'll keep you in mind. And then it happened that literally a month later, somebody reached out to me from a hospital, like a Jewish hospital in America, and they were like, we have some patients that go back to Israel back and forth, and their English is not good, they speak Hebrew, and we're looking for somebody. But whatever, I forgot what happened, but, like, I connected her to them, and she got a job. And so, like, you never know, but you have to be out there putting, 100 requests, and hopefully one will work out. But all you need is one. But you can't ask one person and that one person will not answer you or not help you, and then you're like, oh, okay, I've tried, I failed. So learn how to advocate for yourself, learn how to be, kind, polite, and ask for questions, and always pay back, right? Like try doing something good for other people without thinking or hoping that things will come back to you, but I promise you that they will. And so just like, ask for help, be of help for somebody, do it with the notion of why you want to do it. Because honestly, I feel like if you'll just say, I really want to work in America as a nurse because I heard nurses in America make a lot of money, you might get that job, but you might be so stressed out and burned out, right? Because money is not everything. So you have to really be about what is it that you want to achieve in your life? Why do you want to be a nurse in America? For example, oh my gosh, because I want to learn more, because I want to be able to help more people. I want to be able to be prosperous. Like all of that need to be in your equation, but not just, oh, I heard that things are better, in America, so I want to come to America. Because you might be making a lot more money, but you might be paying a lot more for your apartment, for cars. So I've heard people say, like, we thought that my salary of $80,000, like I'm a millionaire in Pakistan with $80,000, but I didn't realize that where I live to make $80,000, it cost me $70,000 to live. So I'm back to $10,000 that I was making, right? So you have to be smart and kind of look at the whole picture and say what it is that you want, not just the money.
Great. Thank you very much for your time and such rich discussion. I think nurses in our community and network will take a great of help from this all discussion. And at the end, if you would like to share some message to the nurses, actually we have the platform Nurses Beyond Borders. I mean nurses of the globe. And if you would like to share some last message with the nurses, you have this platform.
Yeah, well, I just want to wish everybody just, have a good day because every day matters. And if you have a lot of good days, you have an amazing life. So look at the positive, be grateful for everything that you have. And I think if you come from place of fear, like I'm so worried that I won't get this, you probably won't get that. But if you come from place of gratefulness, I'm so grateful that I'm a nurse. I'm so grateful that I'm alive. I'm so grateful that I live in Pakistan. I'm so grateful that I have these dreams and I want to be in America because of blah, blah, blah. You will likely get that. But if you come from fear, I'm so worried that I won't be able to feed my family. And that's a difficult place to be. So I wish everybody to be grateful for something in your life. And there's always something to be grateful for. To have a great day and all the best. And if you find me on LinkedIn and you message me, I try to help you to the best of my abilities.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and thank you for such inspiring message at the end. Hope we will have some another session in another time.
I hope so too. Bye, everybody.
Thank you and bye.